This is the Radical Transparency Podcast, pioneering artificial intelligence-powered solutions for global change through open, honest influence.
Welcome to this deep dive into the work of Jean-François Bouchard. Specifically his photo book, The New Cubans. You know, we were given a pretty extensive collection of materials.
Oh, yeah.
His biography, artist statements, interviews, even critiques of specific photos.
Right.
And today, we're really trying to understand his, it's kind of a fascinating shift, isn't it? From being a leader in the business world to becoming this full-time artist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
and really uncover what makes the New Cubans so significant.
It's really not, no. And that's actually one of the things that struck me immediately. I mean, this isn't someone who, just picks up a camera one day and decided to become an artist. We're talking about a guy who co-founded Sid Lee, which is, a huge powerhouse creative agency.
Right.
And spearheaded a global innovation conference like C2 Montreal. This is a serious player in the world of business. And
high stakes.
High stakes, exactly. And yet, alongside all that, photography remained this constant for him.
It's fascinating.
It was this passion that he'd been cultivating since he was a kid.
I was going to say, how long has he been doing this?
Well, since his father gave him his first camera as a gift, so it's really been there all along.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how he refers to photography as his night shift.
Yeah.
Almost like it was this hidden world that he could escape to while he was, dealing with the pressures of the business world.
I love that phrase. It really speaks to that duality in his life.
Right.
This kind of balancing act between logic and creativity.
Yeah.
And, it makes you wonder if that very duality influences his approach to art.
Do you think it does?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
You see it in the deliberate choices he makes in The New Cubans. No, he's not just documenting things. He's curating.
Right.
He's shaping a narrative.
Yeah.
And he's chosen to focus on a side of Cuba that most people never see. It's a generation wrestling with a collapsing economy and dealing with mass migration, yet at the same time they're embracing global influences thanks to the internet.
I see.
This is a Cuba that's so far removed from those stereotypical images of, vintage cars and revolution nostalgia.
It's funny you should say that because he specifically mentioned in one interview that he wanted to challenge what he called the communist Cold War era perception.
I remember that.
That a lot of people from outside Cuba still have.
Yeah.
It's about showing a reality that's more nuanced.
Exactly. And visually, he does this, I think, by weaving together these really fascinating contrasts.
Okay.
You see these very traditional Cuban interiors juxtaposed with the modern, styling and attitudes of the people he's photographing.
Oh, I see.
Like, there's that striking photo of a young woman in a sequined gown standing in the middle of this dilapidated kitchen.
Right.
It's almost decaying around her.
That one is very powerful.
It is. And for me, it speaks volumes about the resilience of the human spirit.
Mm-hmm.
This refusal to be defined by circumstance.
That photo really does capture your attention.
It does.
It makes you think about, aspiration versus reality.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The dreams that people hold on to, even when they're facing hardship.
It's that tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
And speaking of powerful images, there's another one that comes to mind.
Okay.
The one with the group of young people standing under that crumbling archway. It's almost completely overgrown with vines.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. It's like this visual metaphor for the uncertainty that they face, stepping out from under the weight of history into this future that's both, promising and precarious.
There's a real sense of movement in that photo.
There is.
This feeling of transition.
Mm-hmm.
You almost feel like you're right there with them.
Yeah.
Standing on that threshold.
Like you're about to cross over into the unknown with them.
Yeah. And you can't ignore the backdrop of mass migration in these images.
No, you can't.
It's a reality for so many Cubans today.
It is, and it makes you wonder how many of the people that Bouchard photographed are still on the island.
Right.
He's really capturing a generation in flux.
Yeah.
Caught between holding on to their roots and seeking opportunities elsewhere.
It's a difficult position to be in.
It is.
And it brings us to the heart of what The New Cubans is really about. Exploring identity and self-expression.
Yeah.
How are these young Cubans defining what it means to be Cuban in the 21st century?
I think they're challenging the traditional narratives, that's for sure. They're embracing global influences, using things like fashion, tattoos, their own personal style to carve out their own spaces, their own definitions of what it means to belong.
It's not just about the individual either.
No, it's not. You're right.
It's about community as well.
Yeah.
There's this sense of shared experience in these photos, this feeling of solidarity.
Absolutely. You see it in the photo with the Cuban flag in the background.
Right.
And with those two subjects, one dressed up, the other with tattoos. It's like this tapestry of identities that make up contemporary Cuban society. It's a really powerful statement, I think, about the evolution of culture.
It is.
It challenges us to look beyond the surface, beyond the stereotypes, and really see the dynamism and complexity of human experience.
Yeah, I think that's what makes Bouchard's work so compelling. It's not just about pretty pictures.
No, it's not.
It's about something much deeper.
It is.
It's about capturing the essence of a culture that's constantly evolving. It's about giving a voice to those who are often overlooked or misunderstood. It's about sparking conversations that need to be had.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what makes Bouchard such an important artist in today's world.
I agree.
He's not afraid to challenge the status quo.
No, he's not.
He's not afraid to show us the world in all its messy, complicated beauty.
And that's what makes his work so powerful, so resonant.
It stays with you.
It does. It really does.
Long after you've closed the book.
Yeah. You keep thinking about those images.
You keep thinking about the stories they tell.
The stories, the people, the emotions.
It's like he's opened up this window into a world that we might not otherwise have seen.
And he's invited us to step inside and really experience it.
To look around, to listen, to learn.
Exactly.
And to come away with a deeper understanding of what it means to be human.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's what we're here for.
That's right.
To explore.
To delve deeper.
To uncover the layers of meaning in art.
And to share those discoveries with our listeners.
So let's continue our deep dive into Jean-François Bouchard's The New Cubans.
I'm ready when you are.
It's fascinating how he manages to capture both like the individual spirit of each person he photographs, but also this collective energy of this whole generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like he's not just presenting portraits, right? He's weaving together this visual tapestry of a society that's going through this massive transformation.
Exactly. And I think part of how he achieves that is by drawing on all these different styles of photography.
Oh, for sure. He's mentioned being influenced by photojournalists like James Notway, who is known for capturing those raw, unfiltered moments.
Right.
But also conceptual photographers like Gonzo Crewdson.
Now, for people who might not be familiar with that term, could you explain a little bit about what conceptual photography is all about?
Yeah, so conceptual photography is really all about the idea behind the image. The artist's intent kind of takes center stage.
Okay.
It's less about, just documenting reality as it is and more about using the image to express a concept or an emotion.
Got it.
So, it's a very deliberate approach.
I see.
And Bouchard seems to be kind of straddling those two worlds.
In a way, yeah.
He's drawn to that immediacy that you find in street photography,
Right.
But there's also this very deliberate, almost staged quality to his work.
That's interesting.
He even called himself a Gonzo Crewdson once, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, it does make you chuckle. But it also kind of gets at that unique approach that he has.
Right.
It's like he wants to capture that authenticity, but he's also very conscious of crafting a specific narrative.
Yeah.
Using, light and composition and those striking contrasts that we talked about.
Absolutely. And, speaking of light, his use of light and shadow is just masterful.
Yeah, it really is.
There's this almost cinematic quality to a lot of his photos,
Like film stills?
Exactly, like film stills. And he uses light to draw your eye to certain details to create this sense of depth and mystery.
There's that one photo, for example, of the young man standing in a doorway.
Oh, yeah.
And he's bathed in this warm, almost ethereal light. You can't even see his face.
Yeah.
But the way he's positioned, the way the light falls on his body, it creates this feeling of mystery and anticipation.
It's like he's on the verge of something.
Exactly.
It's such a brilliant use of light to convey that sense of the unknown, the possibilities that lie ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And also highlights Bouchard's skill as a composer. Right.
I mean, he's not just, snapping photos randomly.
Yeah.
He's really thinking about every element in the frame.
It's all very intentional.
It is. But at the same time, even with that deliberate approach, he still manages to maintain this sense of spontaneity.
Right.
He's talked about how he works very quickly, without a rigid plan.
Yeah.
And if a shot isn't working for him within a few minutes, he'll just abandon it.
Really?
Yeah, it's like he's trying to capture lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
That fleeting moment of truth.
So there's this tension there, wouldn't you say?
There is, definitely.
Between control and surrender.
Yeah.
Between this really meticulous way of working and, letting things unfold organically.
And it's in that tension, I think, that his most compelling images emerge.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the collaborative aspect of his work, too.
That's so important.
He's talked about how his subjects will suggest poses or locations.
Yeah.
Even who should be included in the photos.
Amazing.
It's like he's giving them agency,
He is allowing them to participate in shaping their own narratives.
Which is so crucial, I think, when you're dealing with a subject as sensitive as identity.
Absolutely.
He's not imposing his vision on them.
Right.
He's really engaging in a dialogue.
It's a collaboration.
It is a collaboration, a visual conversation, you could say.
And through that dialogue, through that shared exploration, he's able to capture what this new Cuba is really all about.
Yeah.
It's not this monolithic entity. It's this kaleidoscope of individual experiences. Hopes and dreams, anxieties and aspirations.
It makes you think about the impact of his background, in advertising and branding.
Oh, interesting.
He clearly understands the power of storytelling, the way that images can shape our perceptions and challenge those preconceived notions that we all carry around.
He's not just documenting a generation. He's making an argument.
He is.
He's using his skills as a visual communicator to start a conversation.
Absolutely.
To invite people to step outside of their comfort zones and, confront their own biases.
It's a conversation that's so relevant, I think, in today's world.
Especially today.
Where we're just bombarded with images constantly.
Right.
All these narratives competing for our attention.
It's overwhelming.
It can be. And Bouchard's work reminds us to slow down.
To look closer.
Yeah, to look deeper, to question the stories that we're being told.
Mm-hmm.
And to seek out those voices that are so often marginalized or silenced.
He's shining a light on this corner of the world that's often misunderstood.
He is.
Revealing the beauty and the complexity of a culture that's in transition.
And in doing so, he's not just enriching our understanding of Cuba.
Right.
He's expanding our definition of what it means to be human.
It's a powerful reminder that even amidst hardship, even amidst all the uncertainty, there's this resilience.
Absolutely.
This creativity, this yearning for connection that transcends borders and binds us together. It's that shared humanity, that search for connection that makes Bouchard's work really resonate with me. He's not just giving us like a glimpse into Cuban society. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
It's like he's holding up this mirror to our own
Yeah.
anxieties and aspirations and how we navigate this world that's constantly changing.
It's funny you should mention that mirror thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because one of the critics we were given actually described Bouchard's photos as being like reflective surfaces.
Really?
Yeah. They argued that while he's obviously, capturing these specific individuals in Cuba,
Right.
the images also make us reflect on our own lives.
I see.
Our own struggles with identity and trying to find our place in the world.
It's like those photos become these portals into something much bigger than themselves.
Exactly.
And they make us consider how universal those themes actually are, regardless of where we come from or what our background is.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us back to something we touched on earlier, Bouchard's thoughts on AI and how it's starting to impact photography. He definitely sees potential in AI, especially for like commercial applications.
Okay.
But he's also kind of wary of what it could mean for art.
In what way?
Well, he believes very strongly that the human element, the artist's intention and their unique vision,
right,
those are the things that really matter most.
Makes sense.
He said in one interview that while AI can certainly generate technically proficient images,
Sure.
they often lack soul,
Oh, I see.
They lack that emotional depth that comes from a human being.
Right.
Pouring their own experiences and perspectives into their work.
Because they haven't lived it.
Exactly. Nope. And think about, some of those AI image generators that are becoming so popular now.
Oh, yeah. You see them everywhere.
They can create these really stunning, hyper-realistic images, but they're often just devoid of context, Right. They're missing that deeper meaning that comes from lived experience.
He used a great phrase to describe that.
Which one?
He called it algorithmic sterility.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Like, he's afraid of this future where algorithms start dictating aesthetics, you know?
Yeah, take that.
Where the uniqueness of human expression just gets lost in this sea of digital sameness.
It's a valid concern for sure.
Yeah.
It speaks to that bigger debate about the role of technology in art.
Right. Does it enhance creativity?
Yeah.
Does it push boundaries, or does it actually threaten the essence of what makes art human?
It's a tough question.
It is.
And I think Bouchard falls somewhere in the middle, you know?
Okay.
Oh. Like, he acknowledges the potential of AI.
Right.
But he stresses how important it is to not lose sight of the human heart, the soul of art.
That connection that it creates.
Right, because ultimately art is about connecting with people you know.
Moving us, making us feel something.
Exactly. And that's where the new Cubans, I think, really succeeds.
How's it?
It's not just about how technically masterful the images are.
Yeah.
It's about the stories they tell, the emotions they evoke.
Right, the conversations they start.
And it's about challenging our perceptions, right?
Yeah.
Expanding our understanding of the world and reminding us of just how powerful human connection can be.
Especially in a world that often feels so fragmented and isolating.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
yeah,
we're left with that lingering question, you know?
What will become of this new Cuba?
Yeah, what will become of it? Will it find its footing, its own path in the midst of all the complexities of the 21st century?
It's a question only time can answer.
I suppose so.
But I think Bouchard's work gives us hope, you know?
Okay.
It's a testament to the resilience of this generation, their creativity, and their determination to shape their own destinies.
He's given us a glimpse into a world in transition, a world full of challenges, but also full of possibilities.
And as we move forward, like, let's try to carry that spirit with us, you know?
What do you mean?
That curiosity, that willingness to look beyond the surface and engage with all the messiness and complexity of being human.
Because that's where the real beauty lies.
Exactly. In those unexpected encounters. In those moments of vulnerability and defiance.
That's how we discover the richness of the world around us.
And Bouchard's work is a reminder that art can bridge those divides.
Yeah.
It can foster empathy and inspire us to see the world with fresh eyes.
And that's a legacy that will last.
Absolutely, it will endure.
That was the Radical Transparency Podcast, pioneering artificial intelligence-powered solutions for global change through open, honest influence.